In a world where humans and other sentient creatures live together, a prophecy states that the Dark Lord will return to reclaim the world of magic once again. Can a human cop, orc cop, and special elf prevent the return of the greatest evil despite their own kind turning on them? One day, LAPD officer Daryl Ward is waiting for his partner Nick Jacoby, who is the first ever orc cop in the nation, to get a burrito when an orc thug suddenly emerges from a convenience store and shoots him. Luckily, he survives, but the nightmares of his near-death experience keep bugging him every night. On his comeback day to work, his wife Sherry wakes him up because it's already afternoon. At this time, they happen to stumble upon a podcast with a human and an orc, in which the human asks the orc what he thinks about Jacoby. According to the orc, Jacoby is not part of any blooded clan and compares him to a finger that was cut from a hand. Hearing this, Sherry remembers how Ward got shot because Jacoby is busy getting food. In turn, Ward points out that he doesn't want Jacoby as his partner as well, but he just can't do anything about it. Worried, Sherry remarks that she doesn't want him to get shot anymore. Hearing that, he assures her that he will retire in a few more years, but he needs to keep on working first so he can get a proper pension when he finally quits. However, their moment is interrupted by a fairy who keeps on trying to get into their bird feeder. Because of that, Sherry asks her husband to take care of it. Afterward, he goes to his daughter, Sophia, who then asks if he's in trouble. As it turns out, Sherry mentioned that Jacoby got her father in danger because orcs are dumb. Yet, despite not liking his partner at all, Ward reminds Sophia that belittling other races is not good. According to him, everybody has different races, but it doesn't mean that someone is smarter or better than anybody else because of their race. Just then, he hears a car pull out in his yard, so he goes out to check it. And it's just Jacoby arriving to pick Ward up for work, but he is visibly annoyed by his presence. But since he's already here, they drop Sophia first at her grandmother's place. There, Ward notices that she is sad, so he asks her about it. At this moment, Sophia reveals that her mom also said that Jacoby will get his father killed and she doesn't want him to die. Hearing that, Ward assures his daughter that he will be fine and that Jacoby will not get him killed. However, Sophia is still worried and questions why he has to be a policeman, stating that everybody hates cops. Going back in the car, Jacoby comments that Ward seems not to be getting any sleep. In turn, he confirms that he can't sleep well because he's having nightmares about the time that he was shot while he was getting a burrito. Jacoby then reasons that the burrito was supposed to be for him, yet he apologizes to him again. When they arrive at the station, other police officers immediately start questioning Ward about his partnership with Jacoby, as they think that he purposely let the orc that shot Ward get away. One of them also points out that it is basic clan law, meaning that orcs will always have each other's back. Annoyed, Ward states that as much as he doesn't want to get partnered with the orc, he cannot do anything about it. An officer named Pollard then points out that he should make a way for Jacoby to get fired. But to his surprise, Ward remarks that as long as the orc is doing his job right, he will not mess him up. In turn, Pollard asserts once again that Jacoby let his shooter go, accusing the orc of choosing his blood over his badge. Yet, Ward is giving his partner the benefit of the doubt when he said that his shooter indeed got away. This pisses Pollard and says that the next time somebody gets shot because of Jacoby, it will be on Ward. He then brings back the past and declares that the orcs once sided with the Dark Lord, so they will always be on the bad side of things. At this point, Ward criticizes them and questions why they hate the orc race so much for something that happened thousands of years ago. And, as it turns out, Jacoby is just outside and hears Pollard and the other officers talk bad about him. After a while, they are assigned their partners in patrol units. As expected, Ward and Jacoby are still partners. At this time, Ward talks to the surgeon after the briefing and asks if he can be partnered with another officer but gets declined. According to the surgeon, she has no say in who Jacoby gets partnered with. And to Ward's surprise, she also reveals that no one wants to be partnered with him. With that, Ward just gets on with it and goes into patrolling with Jacoby. Not long after, they come across the other police officers who are viciously beating an orc suspect. Seeing that, Ward confronts Jacoby and asks if he's a cop first or an orc first. In turn, Jacoby tells him not to question his loyalty to his duty, reasoning that he always wanted to be a cop since he was still a kid, so nothing is more important to him than his badge. Just then, another report comes in, so the two of them respond to what seems to be a crazy man swinging his sword in the middle of the street. There, Ward finds his good friend Rodriguez, who's also responding to the situation. Jacoby, on the other hand, tries to calm the man down. However, he just points his sword in his direction and says that the Dark Lord will soon return to reclaim orcs' hearts. Annoyed, Ward threatens to shoot him if he doesn't drop his sword, so the crazy man lets go of it immediately. Upon arresting the man, he suddenly speaks Orcish and reveals that he's from the Shield of Light, a group that is fighting the return of the Dark Lord. According to him, Jacoby needs to remember his traditions because only clanways can save him. However, the real truth bomb drops when he declares that prophecy has chosen Jacoby and that Ward is blessed. Not being able to understand the language, Ward asks Jacoby to translate what the man said, yet the latter states that it's just a bunch of nonsense. At the station, the police captain and 2 detectives from Internal Affairs talk to Ward about Jacoby. Based on his signed statement, Jacoby was said to chase the shooter into a dead-end alley, but he gets tackled, hence giving the shooter an opening to jump on a fire escape ladder and get away. However, the detectives point out that the ladder was 13 feet off the ground, so it's impossible for an orc to jump such height, therefore implying that Jacoby lied. In that sense, they want Ward to make Jacoby admit that he helped the shooter get away and record it, so they will have solid proof to finally remove him from service. As it turns out, they have been eyeing to fire the orc, but they don't have any legal reason to do it just yet, until now. At first, Ward doesn't want to snitch on his partner, but as the detectives say that they can help him with his financial problems, he is forced to do what they want. Meanwhile, Jacoby comes across 2 federal agents named Candamer and Hildebrandt from the Magic Task Force of the United States Department of Magic. Then they go straight to questioning that man that Ward and Jacoby just caught about his involvement with the Shield of Light. At this time, Candamer, a high-ranking Elvish agent, asks him what he knows about the group Inferni. In turn, the man says that they're the renegade elves that are aiming to bring back the Dark Lord, and they, at the Shield of Light, are trying to prevent them from doing so. According to him, when the Inferni gets 3 magic wands, they can finally revive the Dark Lord with the help of special people called Bright, who are said to be the chosen ones who can wield the wands. Just then, they show the man 2 pictures of 2 different women and ask if he recognizes them. He then answers that the older one is Lila, an Inferni coven leader who is a Bright, while the younger one is Tikka, also a known Bright. With that, Hildebrandt points out that since Leylad is looking for Tikka, they just have to find the young elf first so they can set up a trap for the Inferni leader. Going back to Ward and Jacoby, they respond to a call and are greeted by gunshots. Due to that, they retaliate and take down the shooter. However, upon going inside the facility, they discover more corpses that died in an unnatural way. Yet, one body stands out the most, referring to the dying elf that is sticking to the wall like a piece of art. Seeing that, Ward calls it in and reports that there's a possible Bright in the area. Just then, they spot an elf, who turns out to be Tikka and chase after her. But to their surprise, she pulls out a wand and accidentally makes a car explode, causing her to voluntarily surrender. Not long after, Pollard and 3 other officers arrive as backup. However, upon seeing the wand, they decide to use it for their own selfish wishes. As expected, Ward doesn't want to partake in their corrupt business. Because of that, they tell him he will die right then and there, just like Jacoby, if he doesn't corroborate with them. As it turns out, they're planning to kill Jacoby whatever happens, so they give Ward a choice to help them or die like his partner. Thinking about his family, Ward is forced to agree with Pollard and the others, and they order him to kill Jacoby. With that, Ward uses his anger toward his partner for letting his shooter get away as motivation to kill him. Unexpectedly, Jacoby finally admits the truth to him. According to him, he actually lost the shooter during the chase, and the one that he found in the alley was a young orc who was just simply vandalizing. But knowing how the police can get brutal with the orcs, he helped the kid get away through the fire escape ladder and just lied through his statement. Confused, Ward asks how did he know that the orc he let go wasn't the shooter, to which Jacoby points out that he can tell them apart by their smell. Just then, Pollard and the other officers get out and wait for Ward to pull the trigger. Unexpectedly, Ward turns around and shoots the 4 officers, leaving only Pollard barely surviving. Jacoby, on the other hand, doesn't know what's truly going on, so he tries to arrest Ward. In turn, Ward explains that Pollard and the others will actually kill them over the wand, so he did what is needed for them to live. However, their conversation is interrupted when the local gang shows up and asks for the wand. Although they deny it, the gang insists, so it ends up with Ward, Jacoby, and Tikka getting chased by the gang members. During the chase, they wind up in an interracial party led by orcs and unintentionally bring trouble with them. Because of this, they happen to ruin the party, which then causes the orcs to come for them as well. After a while, the gang corners them in a bar, and there seems to be no other way out but to fight head-on. At this time, Tikka suddenly freaks out and states that somebody is coming. And to their shock, Lila and her 2 assassins show up and easily dispose of the gang members. Shortly, law enforcement arrives at the bar, but they are also thrashed immediately by the 3 elves. While that is happening, Ward, Jacoby, and Tika take the opportunity to escape to a convenience store. There, Ward points out they're currently in a deep mess, so all they can do for now is try to survive the night. However, Jacoby says that he wants to make things right because he is a policeman. In turn, Ward asks why he cares so much for the world that doesn't treat him any good. According to Jacoby, the orcs chose the side of the Dark Lord 2,000 years ago, and their race has been paying and suffering for it since then. That's why he wants to make a difference to show the world that not all orcs are bad, hence why being a policeman is very important to him. Shortly, Rodriguez arrives after Ward calls him as he thinks that he's not corrupt like Pollard. Luckily, this turns out to be true as Rodriguez decides to help them by calling the Magic Task Force. Just then, Ward negotiates with Candomir, stating that whatever false claims made by the corrupt cops against him and Jacoby should be dropped in exchange for the wand. But all of a sudden, the call gets cut as Leela and her assassins turn out to be wiretapping their call through a signal tower. A little later, they show up at the convenience store and attack, killing Rodriguez in the process. Meanwhile, Ward, Jacoby, and Tika manage to fight their way out and run away. Unfortunately, the orcs corner them this time and take them to a church where they'd made their home. There the three meet Dorgu, the leader of the Fogteeth orc gang. According, he was originally from Miami and was working as a simple bus rider. But the orc community in Miami is great and being treated fairly at the very least, which is totally not the case in Los Angeles. That's why he decided to step up and formed the Fogteeth orc gang, eventually coming up with the idea of an interracial party where everyone is equal and just having fun. However, because of the trouble Ward, Jacoby, and Tika caused earlier, their tradition is ruined. With that, they will be punished by death, and Dorgu gives his son the blessing to take out Jacoby. Yet, his son cannot do it as he turns out to be the young orc that Jacoby helped get away before. Unfortunately, this doesn't appeal much to Dorgu, so he's the one who shoots Jacoby dead instead. Witnessing this, Ward gets angry and dares the orc gang leader to shoot him as well. Surprisingly, Tika pulls the wand and brings Jacoby back to life. Because of that, the oracle-looking orc declares that the prophecy has been fulfilled, and all of the orcs in the church, including Dorgu, bow down to Jacoby. This then gives an opening for the three of them to escape. Stopping in an alley, Ward cannot believe that Tika is the bride that killed the elf from the facility earlier. According to her, she just learned a few magic words, so she's not really used to using the wand. In turn, Jacoby asks about the elves hunting them, to which Tika tells him about the Inferni and their plan to revive the Dark Lord so he can reign in a new era of magic once again. Confused, Jacoby questions how she knows all of this, and she reveals to them that she was also an Inferni. But she had a change of heart, so she escaped, and the Shield of Light helped her hide the facility that happens to be their safe house. As it turns out, the wand belongs to Layla, and she lends it to the bright assassin that she sent to kill her, yet Tika turned the tides around and took out the assassin instead. At this time, she warns them that Layla shouldn't get her wand back, or it will be the end for them. Just then, Ward notices that Tika is getting gravely ill as a result of bringing Jacoby back to life. At first, he wants to bring her to the hospital, but she says that she can only be healed in the magic pool back in the safe house. Due to that, they head back to the safe house, not knowing that Layla and her assassins are already waiting for them. This results in another fight between them, but this time Ward and Jacoby make sure to finally kill Layla's assassins. However, when it comes to the Infirmary leader herself, they struggle to fight her despite her not having her wand. It takes the three of them to put her down as Ward restrains her while Tika uses the wand to weaken her for Jacoby to shoot her down. Thinking that it finally ends there, Ward tells Jacoby to take a rest while he takes Tika to the magic pool so she can get healed. Unfortunately for them, Layla has healing ability, so she gets back up in no time. Then she sneaks on Jacoby and hangs him, followed by taking her wand back from a weakened Tika. Shooting Ward off out of the magic pool, she dives in and takes Tika out, revealing that the two of them are actually sisters. Layla tells her that it's time for them to complete their mission, but Tika insists that she doesn't want to. This makes Layla angry and accuses Ward of doing something to Tika to make her change her mind. At this time, Jacoby finally cuts the rope and reaches for the gun, shooting Layla's fingers off, which causes her to drop her wand. Seeing that, Ward tells him to shoot her in the head, but he, unfortunately, runs out of bullets. Left with no other choice, Ward grabs the wand, planning to kill everyone as he explodes. But to everyone's shock, he doesn't blow up, meaning that he is a bright as well. Realizing that, Tika tells him to utter the magic spell Vicoris, which then finally kills Leela and causes an explosion. However, Tika suddenly vanishes, causing Ward to think that he accidentally kills her as well. So he goes into the pool to look for her, yet Jacoby says they need to leave now before the place completely gets devoured by flames. At first, Ward doesn't want to leave without Tika, but Jacoby reminds him that he has a daughter waiting for him. Hearing that, Ward comes to realize that he's right. With that, they make their way out, but Jacoby, later on, realizes he's the only one who made it out. Because of that, he rushes back inside to save Ward, who happens to get trapped under some debris. At this moment, due to his act of bravery, Dorgu and his gang blooded Jacoby, welcoming him back to their race. After a few days, when both of them are finally recovered, Candomir and Hildebrandt visit them. And, before even asking the question, Jacoby starts explaining everything that happened that night, except the fact that Ward is a Bright. However, Ward says otherwise and insists that what happened was just a normal shootout against an extremist group, but then the local gang showed up, which made the situation even worse. In the end, he emphasizes that there are no magics, wands, or brights that are involved, and that the federal agents are the ones who saved their lives. Just then, Candomir asks if that is what actually happened, and Ward confirms it. At this time, Jacoby finally realizes that any hint of magical activity should be kept to the public, so they need to work with the agents to come up with a doctored version of the incident. The movie ends with Ward and Jacoby receiving an award for their heroism as Ward notices Tika watching them from the crowd. With its non-stop action and very timely dilemma about racism, it managed to provide a good movie with good social commentary without removing the fun in it. Overall, Bright is a fun and great movie to watch.